earlier if we start a fight.
Yeah, so I listen, I wasn't a fan of joint practices, but I get the work that you can get out of it. And then for a coach, like, you want to see good on good. Like, you had A.J. Brown going against Quinyon Mitchell. Like, you can't simulate that in practice within your inner squad. And then, too, it's another reason coaches do it, because there is a heightened sense of competing. And you want to be better than that team on the other side of the field. The part I hated about joint practice more than anything is that you practice them and then you play a preseason game where nobody plays. And you're like, damn, I'm so ready to be over this. But for the most part, you understand why they do it. But as players, man, when you 3 weeks into training camp, you hate everybody. So it's not even like we make it look good on TV. Like, oh, training camp going great, and we show catches and dudes moving around. Them dudes are in hell right now. You know what I mean? They're ready for this stuff to be over and in season.
Players hate it. Coaches love it. Here's why players hate it. Because even in an intense practice with your own team, there's a dance. There's an expectation of how you can get work, be intense, but not sell out to where you put your teammates at risk of injury. When you add other players into that on a different team and they're practice All-American trying to make a team, they're diving, they're getting low, you risk injury. So players don't like that part. Coaches love it because it is everything a preseason game isn't. You get situational work. You can go 11 on 11 good in the red zone. You can get 10, 15 reps in the red zone. You might only get 3 of those snaps, 2 of those snaps, hopefully, with your ones in a preseason game. So it's great for situational football and getting your starters those valuable reps. It's bad because emotions get heightened, and your number one priority, unlike it is with your team, is not to protect your teammate. It's to make a play or show you can do something, and that's what adds to the fights.
That's a QB talking.
And I love the scuffles. Don't get me wrong. You know why?
Nah, bro.
You know why I love the scuffles? Because my big boys go protect. I could start it, and I never had to finish it.
Yeah, you can get out of the pile.
Absolutely.
He has to run towards it.
Oh yeah, say that to him.
And the two of us are on the sideline, usually jotting down exactly what's happening. Who throws the football?
Yeah, just jotting down uniform numbers. Looking, hey,
Rodgers
that was a punch.
This guy's getting kicked out. Kicked out.
And listen, some guys can afford to throw punches, some guys get cut to throw punches. So it's very clarifying what happens and who gets kicked out of practice and who doesn't. All right, so Saquon is the wrong guy to ask about this, because reports were that the Patriots were relieved that they found out when they saw how many explosive runs Saquon had that they needed to shore up their run defense. They found out because of that, because they weren't going against a Saquon Barkley up in Foxborough. That's clarifying for them. Good on good. It's helpful to go against that guy. If you're just running off explosive runs, you're in a position where maybe you don't go full bore all of the time in joint practice. You don't get to feel it like you would for a preseason game or obviously a regular season game. I can see why you would hate joint practices. I could see a situation where, listen, Saquon Barkley's got nothing to prove right now. That's the most important thing. There are probably, let's say there was 80 guys out there, 85 guys out there. Say 60 of them have something to prove every single day. Saquon Barkley is not one of those guys. So he can kind of mess around during joint practice. He can do whatever he wants. He can expose the Patriots' run defense. Doesn't matter. I see why he doesn't like it. But here's the deal. At some point, they're going to get rid of that third preseason game. And I see a world in which there's a mandated joint practice, or all 32 teams are doing some sort of joint practice, whether it's a local team or the coaches or buddies or whatever. At some point, I think joint practices are going to replace the bulk of preseason work.
Probably because you can sell tickets to it, too.
Yeah, there you go.
They always find a way to make money.
We'll be able to.
Selling tickets, huh?
I think Kevin made a good point. Like, we got fewer preseason games.
Yeah.
Guys need more reps. With all of them at some point if there's an 18th game added.
And who's fighting? Guys trying to make a team. Like, you don't want to see guys not fighting, not being intense when they're trying to make the final roster. You cut back on the preseason action. Where else do you get the work? Where else do you prove yourself? Maybe that 4th round, 5th round pick. So I think if you're Saquon, you're a leader. Every time you step in front of that microphone, be positive, man. Like, some of the stuff that Marcus is talking about, say that to your teammates. But when you say it publicly, everybody's going to pounce on that. At the end of the day, I think the work is valuable, especially for the guys who aren't Saquon Barkley and don't have a guarantee on this team.
Yeah, there have been a lot more fights, it feels like, this training camp and these preseason joint practices than maybe years past.
It's because they cracked the code. Swagoo knows. Let's end practice 15 minutes early.
Hey, big fella, let's do it.
Everybody got to be on the same page about that. Yeah, just wait, because Jerry Jones made some comments about the fines that came down, and he might have a solution to how to eradicate all the fights that are coming out of these practices. Straight ahead here on
that quick stint in L.A. And then finally, Philadelphia. What's at stake for Jalen Hurts' future this season?
I think a lot, considering he was Super Bowl MVP a year and a half ago. I go back to that story we had on ESPN.com back in April, which really delineated a lot of the internal concerns that the Eagles have had about Jalen Hurts and his role in their offensive struggles the last couple of years. So if you fast forward and he doesn't, what, Swagoo? I mean, I'm just saying, like, the call's coming from inside the house.
I'm mad at you, Gross.
Why did I do?
I think he's over there.
Drop in.
Well, I've heard the banter this summer, and you know what pisses me off, man, is like, we kind of undermine the fact that this dude has never had a coordinator.
I get it.
Consecutive years. I'm saying
it's not fair.
Just know that it's not directed towards you.
I understand.
But my point is, a Super Bowl MVP went to a Super Bowl and probably would have been the MVP of that one if they would have won the game. And we having conversations about if he can be the quarterback for a franchise that has consistently won games. You could be the Raiders.
But
like Philly, you could be the Raiders.
How did he get the job?
With Carson Wentz going down.
When they decided to move on from Carson Wentz.
Graz, I know that, but Carson Wentz did not win a Super Bowl and be an MVP, and he didn't go to another one.
The first year they won the Super Bowl, Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate and helped get them there.
Graz,
right?
And
they still move on a year and a half later.
I understand that, and I know this is Philly's MO. They will move on from you. I'm not talking about Philly. I'm talking about the conversation revolving around Jalen.
I'm with you. I'm just trying to forecast what might happen, not what should happen.
Yeah.
And to Swagoo's
on the negative side again, I see.
But look, to Swagoo's point, if we're the Philadelphia Eagles, look, we may like Tanner McKee, but if we're going to move on from Jalen Hurts, like he has produced, as we said, back-to-back Super Bowls. It is a long time coming till you find another quarterback that can do that. So, again, when you're evaluating moving on from a player, the two questions you always have to ask is, who are we going to get and how much is that player going to cost? So Jalen Hurts may not be perfect, but it's worked there. So, now, the fact they haven't done an extension recently.
Yeah, he's got some time left on his deal, but, it's also an outdated extension, the one he signed. The point I was going to make before Swagoo got upset with me was
I'm not upset.
This is a player who has shown an ability to, hey, Jalen, here's what we want you to work on this offseason or this coming season, and he's been able to do it. Not every year, because they change coordinators every year. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But more often than not, when they've given him an assignment to work on something specific and get better, he has aced it. Yep. If that happens, we're not having this conversation.
Great defense at his disposal. Did lose his #1 overall wide receiver to New England. Another new offensive coordinator. What does it look like in Philly if we're having serious conversations late in the year in which maybe they are going to be moving on for them? How bad does it have to get?
I don't think they will have those conversations because if you look back at the struggles, that's what we're looking at Jalen Hurts through the context of what we saw from this offense last year. They were stale. They did nothing pre-snap to stress the defense. They were 29th in pre-snap motion. They never went under center. Not saying you have to live in that, but that helps out the run game. That helps out play action. They attacked almost exclusively the perimeter. Mm-hmm. They were not a middle-of-the-field type passing attack. This offense is going to allow Hurts to actually stress the defense. Yeah. They're not just line up and go, well, I hope A.J. wins or Devontae wins.
Let's go back to a little history, right? Like me and Jay Raj was at SEC Network.
Yep.
This dude got benched in the national championship. All right, came back the next year, supported his teammate, went to Oklahoma, got better under Lincoln Riley, was a Heisman candidate, took his team deep in the playoffs, came into Philly. And everybody, when he got drafted, was like, what the hell is Philly drafting Jalen Hurts for, coming off the Carson Wentz thing? Obviously, we know what went down with Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts comes into Philly with no expectation at all. I don't care what anybody says. They didn't see this coming from 100,000 miles away. Of his productivity, the way he's been playing there in Philly. Howie has done a phenomenal job surrounding him with pieces. The defense has been good. But I don't care. Just like I said about C.J. Stroud, it's going to come back to the quarterback. What I know about Jalen Hurts is this. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won one, and is a Super Bowl MVP in the span of 5 years. And we've had conversations all summer about, well, Philly probably about to get rid of the quarterback. What?
You feel that this is all unfair?
I think every part of it is unfair. He's had 6 offensive coordinators and been to 2 Super Bowls and won the Super Bowl MVP.
There are guys
6 of them.
There are guys in the league that are head coaches now, in part because of Jalen Hurts. There's no question. Look, there's no question about this young man being made of the right stuff.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've seen him go through adversity and come out there. I don't think this is adversity, but he's clearly been given an assignment here.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what they want him to do better. I believe he can do it.
Yeah.
If he does, then this conversation looks silly in a year.
There's another big component here, which is their offensive line. Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson all missed a lot of time last year. And Sal Paolantonio made this point a couple days ago. When Lane Johnson plays, they win at a 66% rate. When he doesn't, they're under 500. So obviously it is about the quarterback, but those three offensive linemen are hugely consequential to how good they're going to be this year if they can play 17 games.
We've had a lot of camp scuffles. Do we need to make sure that you
There's not going to be any.
You're not going to be the one breaking it up.
0% chance.
I'm not mad at Grouse. I'm just mad at the narrative, man. I'm mad at the narrative because in the NFL, we look for guys that do this. We look for guys that can go to 2 Super Bowls and win you one.
And we're criticizing him more than we are Justin Herbert for never winning a playoff game.
Is it a little bit of it fair when you go back and look at that wild card game against the Niners and you realize that game was there for the taking and that offense couldn't move the ball at all before a final drive led by Hurts ended in a turnover which could have won the game?
We're going to find out, right? If the reason they weren't throwing over the middle of the field is because he doesn't want to or he doesn't think he can, then that's going to be a problem.
That's a problem.
If it's because they weren't asking him to do it and he can, then it's going to look great.
And again, the definition of a quarterback is elevate those around you. Can he elevate Dontavius Wicks and those other receivers?
What you two just said is that's the fair part of the conversation.
Yes.
The overall arching, he ain't good enough, and we don't know. That is awful. Now, to your point, Graz, what you just said matters. If he can't get better, that's the job of NFL football players, especially at quarterback. Get better at what you don't do well over time so we can advance that part of your game. If he unwilling to do that, that's absolutely warranted for them to be thinking about somebody else. But this conversation about can we win with him and is he good enough?
But you can win with him.
Okay, come here.
All right. Look.
I want you to take a look. I got something special for you. I think this is going to make you feel a little bit better. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, Cowboys offensive coordinator Clayton Adams had an interesting request for the team's snack room.
Okay. All right.
Take a listen.
All right.